Per popular request, I decided to make this vid. I hope you enjoy it. Disney, Disney, Disney. I loved Disney as a kid. I would watch all the classics from Disney and think they were the greatest things in the world. I've seen them all. Aladdin, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, and of course, The Lion King. But here's what I also saw. The degeneration of a well-established franchise. Now it goes around creating unnecessary sequels, pandering to the tween generation, creating a channel nobody watches, and ordering around pansy bands and no-talent singers. But hey, I'm just...
In my generation, my generation, it's my generation, baby. It's my generation, it's my generation, it's my generation, it's my generation.
The reason I cherished Disney so much back in the days when Disney was of any import to me was because they highly developed their franchise to appeal to everyone, including the children's sector. Here are the good points. First, Disney launched the ever-popular Mickey Mouse back in 1928. But Mickey Mouse wasn't the only famous character I grew up with. You had Donald Duck, Goofy, Scrooge McDuck, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Pluto. There are too many characters to think about. I mean, they were the icons of Disney, and if you don't know them, you don't know the real world. Then you had the classic Disney movies. Disney was the first to use Technicolor and started the very first animated movie. That's right, Snow White. It was shown in theaters in 1937, about 1 week from today's date. And Snow White was a truly instant classic. Then you had a whole bunch of Disney movies between 1937 and 2000 that remain instant classics to this day. From 1937 on, you had Pinocchio and Fantasia in 1940, Dumbo in 1941, Bambi in 1942, Song of the South in 1946, Cinderella in 1950, Alice in Wonderland in 1951, Peter Pan in 1953, Lady and the Tramp in 1955, Sleeping Beauty in 1959, 101 Dalmatians in 1961, Mary Poppins in 1964, The Jungle Book in 1967, The Aristocats in 1970, Robin Hood in 1973, The Rescuers in 1977, The Fox and the Hound in 1981, The Grace Mount Detective in 1986, Who Framed Roger Rabbit in 1988, The Little Mermaid in 1989, Beauty and the Beast in 1991, Aladdin in 1992, The Lion King in 1994, Toy Story and Pocahontas in 1995, The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1996, Hercules in 1997, Mulan and A Bug's Life in 1998, and Tarzan in 1999. Whew! By around 2000, Disney was starting to lose momentum. By Atlantis and Monsters, Inc. caught my attention. And by Lilo and Stitch, I started to lose interest. Though I think Lilo and Stitch was an alright movie. Still, it doesn't compare to the previous movies on my list. The only time I had a revitalized interest in Disney was The Incredibles in 2004. And after that, Disney fizzled out. Disney did the impossible in 2006. They gave our generation the middle finger and decided to pander to the teeny bopping crowd. A crowd made distinct by the impressionable tweens and whiny losers who idolized Hannah Montana. They even jump-started a franchise that would mark the reason I would despise Disney for the rest of my life. Here are the bad points. First, Disney's originality started to decline. Disney began creating sequels to movies that already have both a resolution and a denouement. What does that mean? Well, the movie ended with a bang, and the movie was so well resolved that Disney had no reason to create a sequel. Kind of like Back to the Future. It needed no sequel, and the directors even intended for it to have no sequel. But in Disney, they decided to ruin the classics, just like Nickelodeon, and decided to tag unnecessary sequels to already well-established movie franchises. The Lion King. I thought it was the greatest movie of all time. At the ending, Simba becomes the king and defeats his nemesis Scar. Every loose end is tied. Why do you have to create a sequel? Oh, because 1/10 of the audience was wondering what would happen if Simba had offspring. Give me a goddamn break. And another thing, the sequels to Aladdin were lamer than the original. I'm sorry to say this, but they were inferior compared to the original Aladdin. Aladdin needed no sequel. The only exception was Toy Story 2, but even that had its flaws. Pocahontas 2, again, very lame and pointless. The Little Mermaid 2 employed the same story as The Lion King 2. Cinderella 2 is a goddamn sequel 52 years after the original movie and doesn't relate to the fairy tale and... Ugh! I could go on and on about this nonsense, but I don't have enough time to name every single sequel Disney created. Let's move on to the other faults of Disney, shall we? After Robert Iger took over Disney in 2005, things began to take a turn for the worse, literally. By 2006, Disney creates the ultimate abomination, Hannah Montana. Wait. Let's talk about the Disney Channel first. Believe it or not, it was launched in 1983, and the only reason why it was alright in the 80s, 2 words: The Raccoons. By the 90s, they had the Disney Vault, but dropped it because they wanted to be hip. Sure, suck up to the teeny boppers, you uncreative idiots. By 2005, you had That's So Raven, which is like, WTF, Disney? Where's the good programming? Where the hell is the raccoons? Where's your sense of style, Disney? But no, the fun doesn't stop here. 2006, a year that will live in infamy. Hannah Montana is added to the Disney Channel lineup. I gotta say, Hannah Montana is a waste of time, a waste of space, and
a senseless waste of human life.
Her songs suck. As a hardened classic rocker, I was raised by The Who, The Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, The Rolling Stones, and Cream. To put it this way, Simon and Garfunkel can own Hannah Montana in a heartbeat, even with their sparse instrumentation. Simon and Garfunkel still is alright, by the way. Disney even jump-started the careers of the Jonas Brothers, or should I say, the Jonas Idiots. They're so bad, I'm shameful for being born and living in the same state they come from. Bruce Springsteen came from my state. Guess what? He owned. The Jonas Brothers? No. They fail at creating songs. They're so bad they're ruining Disney songs already used by the classic movies of Disney, such as The Little Mermaid. The cover songs of the Disney classics suck. They're tearing away at Disney, and neither Disney nor the Jonas Brothers acknowledge this happening. And I really hate them, because they have the balls to cover the Beatles, and failing like the Hindenburg, which also happened in my state, by the way.
Oh, the humanity!
Their cover of Hello Goodbye, my most favorite Beatles song of all time, I'm sorry, it sucks. And Disney allows for this to happen? Oh boy. And the other crap on the Disney Channel. Zack and Cody, I seriously don't care about them. Phineas and Ferb, what? And Camp Rock. I think it's an extension of the stupid High School Musical franchise. They already ruined musical numbers. What next? Ooh, let's ruin the genre of rock and roll, and while we're at it, let's ruin it with the Jonas Brothers. That ought to hit home with the kids. Cut me a goddamn break. While I'm on the subject, I already ranted about High School Musical, but in case you didn't get it before, it's stereotypical, backward, and the songs are incredibly weak. If I wanted to hear a corny musical, I would see Grease. But Grease is number one in comparison with High School Musical. Whatever happened to Mickey Mouse? What about Pluto, and Donald, and Minnie, and Daisy, and Scrooge, and Darkwing Duck? Whatever happened to them? I suppose the next thing that will happen is that the new mascot of the Disney franchise will be Hannah Montana, and by then, the world will end. Plus, the Disney Channel neglected to celebrate their 25th anniversary. It's just as well. The franchise turned to crap now. Why waste time trying to figure out how long you were in existence? You already ruined your past. That was Disney, and that was my goddamn generation.